Salama, my name is Wayne Truter from the University of Pretoria in South Africa. I really look forward to working with you all on this project. It is a very exciting project. I do believe that as a team together we're going to make some really interesting findings. I think we're going to learn a lot together. I look forward to coming to Madagascar again soon and to be working with you and to also learn from you. But I think some of the concepts that I have been asked to put in a presentation will follow, and please listen carefully. I hope I don't speak too fast for you, but I'm sure that the information I share with you can be transferred, and the day that I do arrive in Madagascar, that we will be able to discuss this in a lot more detail and put it into action and actually see it work. Take care and enjoy the presentation. This presentation will focus on a couple of concepts that we would like to implement in this project. And it's looking at the native grass pasture management and how we can use other sources of forage or other plant products, plant material that you currently have in your agricultural production systems to feed these very valuable animals. These animals are a very important component of the agro-ecosystem that we work in. It is important to understand that the goals of this project need to look at that these animals are our investment. They're an investment in our well-being. They're an investment in our animal or agricultural production systems, in the sense that they bring a lot of wealth, and at the same time they add a lot of value to our agro-ecosystem. They also provide us with meat and milk, which is an extremely important protein source for our everyday diets. They also bring along a whole bunch of organic fertilizer in the form of their dung and urine, which are nutrients very valuable to our plant production systems. And that is their method of converting our grass and taking the nutrients in the grass and providing it back to us in the form of dung and urine, which could benefit our crop production systems. They're also very valuable in transporting many of us people and transporting our goods and transporting products that we produce in our agricultural production systems. And lastly, they're important in working our soil, in cultivating our soil. So these animals are extremely important in the function of any livestock or crop production system. But we need to look after them. We need to try and provide for them so that these animal herds can grow in size, because there's more than sufficient amount of plant material which they can consume and convert and provide us with product which we can use to improve our production systems. As we've said, the protein is an important component. These animals provide us with so many opportunities of producing products which we can use and either trade and give to other family or community members. Like I said, they produce a large amount of animal manure, which is nutrient rich, which we can use back in our production systems. And we're hoping that we can close this cycle of using nutrients from the animals to be able to grow more plants with nutrients, which we can consume as well as what the animals can consume, and return it back to the soil. Transport, as we've said, very important component that these animals contribute to. They be able to transport a lot of the stuff that we produce, and also to bring stuff back to us that we could potentially use in our newly founded systems. Cultivation, most importantly, these draft animals are so important in tilling the soil and also incorporating the manure that we actually take from them, that they provide for us, back into our cultivation systems. the whole concept that we need to focus on is how we can improve the chemical, physical and biological properties of the soil. And the animals play a crucial role in this. They connect the soil, they connect the pasture back to each other. So it's this whole circle of taking plant protein and looking at the quality of it and converting it into animal protein, which we can use in some other way, either milk or meat. But then at the same time, these animals return a fraction of the nutrients which they do not utilize back to the soil in the form of organic fertilizer. And they improve the health of the soil because of the microbes in their stomach, which they return. And then this manure plays an important role in building our soils, improving the quality, so that we are able to then start the cycle over again and plant new plants that we can utilize for either our own consumption or for the animals, that they can consume them to produce future protein. Now, animals have certain needs, and our zebu that we have certain requirements. One of the most important factors we look at is protein. They also require a certain amount of protein to grow properly, to produce some form of milk or whatever protein that they are providing. There's also an importance to look at the vegetation that they consume and look at how digestible this material is. And we want to see that they ingest and consume a lot of this material. And there's certain parameters in the plant material we need to monitor. And then in this plant material, there's also a whole bunch of minerals. So it's so important that we understand what are we getting from our native grasses, so that we can either supplement it with other sources of feed. So looking at the different sources of feed, we firstly got our grazing land. Grazing land is our native grassland, which we are currently using extensively. Very often we burn this grazing land to get better quality, but there's better ways of trying to use the quality of that grazing land than having to burn it. The one other thing that we can add to the animal's diet is crop residues. Crop residues, things that we can harvest from other production systems that have not got any value for us as people, but can be consumed by the animals. Then we need to try and grow plant material that we can preserve and put it away for the months that we don't have good quality or enough of the material. And this is fed in the form of fodder. And fodder is extremely important to make sure that we have enough food throughout the year. And if we do provide these combinations of food, we will get an improved production of these animals. What's really important through all these different materials we feed is that we have to look at the quality of them. So when we look at our grazing land, it is important that we improve cattle production. And by improving cattle production, we need to improve the condition of our animals. And we need to look and monitor the condition of our animals by looking at what we feed them. And this is one of the objectives of the project, is to see how the condition of the animals can improve. I think what's next important is obviously to see how their production improves based on the good quality food that they will be receiving. We also want to improve the grazing quality of our natural pastures, and we can do that by grazing them in different ways. And we will provide methods and investigate methods that you can implement that will make sure that in the time to come, this grazing or natural grazing will improve. Third important thing is that we want to utilize good quality grazing as well, that we can provide separately to the native grasses, that has got good value, that relieves a little bit of pressure off the natural grasses, so that we can harness that quality in these other planted species. And then lastly, we want to reduce fire risk. And when we're improving our grazing land, we want to reduce fire risk by ensuring that we graze as much material as possible at the right time of the year, and then to make sure that there's good rest and that we remove enough plant material so that it does not burn and create some other environmental damages. Crop residues are also very important in producing nutrients or providing nutrients to animals that the animals need, because the animals do not get enough nutrients from the native grass pastures. So by providing crop residues of crops that we are currently producing, that we can then take this residue, harness its quality, take the quality, preserve it in a way that we can then feed it to animals, make silage from it, feed it to animals so that they can get the value out of these nutrients, rather than throwing away all this waste or these residues from our crop production systems. So these crop residues are very valuable. Then preservation is that whatever material we cannot use at the time and we want to preserve its quality so that we don't lose its quality, we need to preserve it in a specific way. We need to use our residues and make silage and preserve it that way, or we need to harvest the plant material that's in the form of hay and preserve it for the animals at a later stage. Because the animals' nutrient requirements differ throughout the year, and it's important that we provide better quality throughout the year. So this fodder, and we're looking at planting forage sorghum. It's an annual species, it's non-invasive, it has got a high quality, it produces a significant amount of biomass, and I'll show you a little bit of data now. It produces a little bit of seed, not a lot of seed, but the quality of the plant material lies in the leaves and the stems. And as you can see from the pictures, this is a fast-growing, tall-growing, high-producing plant species, a lot of value in it, and can be preserved very well. So looking at improved production, I think what's important is that we have to look throughout the year that some grazing land provides us good quality in the beginning of the year, and as you move towards the middle of the year in the winter times, you will find that the grazing lands have lower productivity and quality. And in that time, where you look at these green blocks, we need to feed the preserved fodder. We need to make sure that, looking at that red line on this graph at 10 level there, you will see that we need to ensure that this is what the animals require. This is the amount of biomass they require, 10 kilograms of dry matter per day. The grazing land does not give it to us, so we have to supplement it with preserved fodder and any other crop residues at the specific time of the year. So looking at production, 1 hectare of native grass pasture can only support 1.5 animals for 365 days. When we start bringing in crop residues, we can now utilize 3 animals on that 1.5 hectare or that 1 hectare together with these crop residues. When we start looking at bringing in fodder, you can see that 1 hectare can then now carry 5 animals for the 365 days of the year. As soon as we start combining the preserved fodder plus the native pasture, we can now support 7 animals on 1 hectare of native pasture if we supplement it with the fodder, preserved fodder, and other pasture. So bringing in the native grass pasture together with preserved fodder, together with crop residues, we can now have more animals because we've got higher quality and we've also got higher production. So when we look at production and we look at the native grass pasture species that we have there, you will see some of these species produce very low amounts of dry matter, biomass per hectare per year. When we compare it to forage sorghum, you can see the forage sorghum produces, in some cases, 10 times the amount of biomass and of a much higher quality than your native grasses that you will find in our native grazing lands. When we look at the quality, it's important, just looking at protein for an example, you look at the protein content of some of our natural grasses. Some of them are really good, some of them are not necessarily good, and you will see that the forage sorghum has got a much higher quality protein than some of the other natural species, and together with a high biomass, it can definitely ensure a much better and supplement to the animals and also production, and will increase the animal's condition and also increase its production. So thank you very much. I hope this gives you a little bit of an idea of what we are planning to do and what we hope to be able to instill and implement in your communities. We hope that we can learn from you. We hope that we can learn together and see what system will work for the different community members, and that we can show that if we change a few things that's able to be changed, that it will help increase the quality of our animals and increase their production potential, and at the end of the day benefit all the people that are dependent on these animals. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.